think I got to a point where with work, home life, football, I think my brim became pretty full. I think I got to a point where I broke and I lost my head.
Welcome back to the Lose to Win podcast with myself, Josh and Ben, and a huge welcome back to Jack. How are you doing, Jack, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Thank you very much for having me back, gents. I've missed you dearly. I've been listening every week, taking notes.
Good lad. We've missed you, mate.
As Ben well knows, I picked him up on his favouritism for the awards last week, and only messing, they're all very much worthy winners. But I'd mentioned a few that they might have missed, and it was a bit of a giggle in the chat. So it's really good to be back, guys. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, mate. Always,
No worries,
we missed you.
Mate. It's a pleasure to have you. Yeah, we have indeed, very much so. If it's not all right with you, though, we're going to crack straight on to the roundup for last week, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, as long as you don't mention the 9-1 or 8-1 or whatever it was, Ben, it'll be right.
I can't remember what the score was. What was it?
Basically, every time you kick, your team kicked the ball anywhere near the goal, it went in. We've got one of the best goalkeepers.
That's not entirely
down there
true. That's not entirely true.
Corner.
He made some good saves as well, so it could have been 10.
Unreal, to be fair, it could have been more. Without
one of those stories, Ben, where every single time you say it, the store gets bigger. What was it?
I don't remember a score as
the only one I can remember, and I think I was involved in that as well. To be fair, was
I was involved. Yes,
was when we beat Yellows in the final when we were Blues, and we beat them 9-1. I think it was. They'll love me reminding them of that. Liam still holds that one quite close to his heart.
I'm not surprised. It's going to take me a little while to get over this. I was trying to ease myself back in and then come straight back to that baptism of fire. But anyway, don't let me steal your thunder, Josh.
I won't.
No. Well, we were saying we couldn't do it again, potentially, could we, this week? After last week's turbocharged start to the season, would we see another hefty withdrawal from the Bank of Bulk? Well, we fell short of last week's total, I should say, but not by much. 26.3 kilos lost in week 2 is excellent progress in its own right, and a sign that last week wasn't a flash in the pan.
Yeah,
brilliant. And it's a fantastic start to the season. We've now lost over 50 kilos in the first 2 weeks alone. A full Kylie with a few kg to spare in just 2 weeks. So
amazing.
Gives us every chance of making this a record-breaking season for the club as a whole.
Yeah.
More importantly, each of those 26 kilo represents lots of men making genuine progress towards personal goals and healthier lifestyles. So I should say 50 kilos in 2 weeks, that's a third of last season's total in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So we said, didn't we?
We're definitely on for a fantastic season.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I think everything is in its favour, isn't it? With leading up to Christmas, everybody wanting to shift that little bit extra before they start tucking into the mince pies, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think
mince pie is already on sale, by the way. Can we just talk about that?
No,
I've seen the festive aisles in the supermarket as well. It's disgusting. We're not even got
my days.
Halloween out of the way. No. But I think everything plays in its favour to be a record breaker, doesn't it? And also, I think record numbers in terms of how many people we've got signed up now, Josh.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. So the league is full. It is actually, as of this week, full. Well, 2 people who are destined to come in like first week of October who have got allocated spaces already. But we're full and have a waiting list, I think, of a couple of people.
Okay.
1 or 2
Wowzers.
people. So 88 plus in the 90s of people now who are associate with the league or want to be. So that's pretty incredible. Yeah. Highest amount. As for the results then for week 2,
go on.
The Purples won 18-3 against the Blues overall. Us Yellows lost a tight one, 8-7 to the Reds.
Yeah, that was good.
And the Blacks won 13-4 against the Greens. And the Oranges lost 10-5 against the Whites.
Well.
Interesting week, yeah. Yellows and Reds fought out the closest pitch encounter of the night, drawing 1-1 before the scales allow Reds to snatch the overall win by a single goal, which we actually assumed when we walked away from the pitch, to be honest. I think me and Ryan had done a good job at working out where we were going to be. And we thought, okay, I think with a draw, we probably lost goal.
It's so annoying when you lose by 1 goal in it. That one goal is such a pig.
Even drawing, you had a couple of those last season, didn't you, Ben? A couple of weeks in a row. Draws are
really
nobody
annoying.
likes a draw, do they? It's no good for anyone.
No.
So that leaves us yellows with a draw and a loss to start the season. We drew long overall.
Unlucky.
However, we've been doing well, and the competition is very stiff, isn't it? So and it's long may it continue, because we've all been doing well on the weight so far.
It
will
brilliant.
pick up. Elsewhere, comfortable pitch wins were only magnified by the scales, with the overall result showing the team who won on the pitch extending their lead via the scales. For the second time this season, the Purples lost more weight than anyone else. 7.4 kilos came off this time, with the Reds 7 kilos hard on their heels. So it's a close one there.
Yeah.
Purples have already lost more than 20 kilos this season.
Wow.
While the Whites also broke the 5 kilo barrier for the second consecutive week. So you were saying, Jack?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying how incredible it is, mate. Serious numbers.
Yeah. Insane, isn't it? Purples, Reds and Whites are all enjoying 100% win records in both the main and the scales leagues. Although the Reds and Purples playing each other next week, or this week, I should say. Is that correct? Something has to give. In the pitch league, Purples and defending champions Blacks are the only sides with a perfect start. So no hat-tricks yet, of course, as we're only in week 2.
This week's hat-trick
week.
Yeah,
exactly. Although anyone who has already lost weight twice this season can complete their first treble by losing weight this time around. There were 2 milestone men, although disappointingly, Matt Waterman couldn't be bothered to make it 3 in 3 weeks. 2 weeks. So, must try harder, Matt. Must try harder. Fortunately for the Purples, Bill Court earned his 10% certificate to keep up their unquenchable desire for milestones, as well as Bill's own excellent recent form. Meanwhile, the living legend that is Tom Marks joined the highly prestigious 35% club, bringing his total loss since joining the club up to 60.5 kilos.
That's insane.
Mental.
I know.
What is that in stone?
You
Have you done the maths?
What is it?
Oh, God.
In stone. What did you say is 60 what, Josh?
60.5. So that is 10 stone, isn't it? Somewhere in the region of 10 stone.
Got to be somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Just drum roll, please.
2.2.
9.5.
Yeah. Wow. 9.5 stone.
Yeah. That's like
insane, isn't it?
Do you know what? It always sounds more when it's you when you do it in stones and pounds, doesn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think because we're just so used to doing it as a number, but that's insane. And he's a different person, isn't he? Like in
completely unrecognisable.
Is he qualified for the Biggest Loser game now? Then is that the threshold? 35.
30%.
Yeah,
30%.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, wow. Well,
right. I should have kept reading the report, by the way, because it literally says that that's 9.5 stone.
Or, do you know what? Or I think I might have read that as well. Now thinking about it, now we've said that number, but yeah, it's super impressive.
Or roughly 1.25 Kylies, as is Steve's measuring stick. I love he's lost more than a Kylie Minogue.
Like crazy. He was carrying a Kylie around on his back or his front, depending on which way he liked it.
Yeah. The club as a whole has started this season superbly, but Tom's career weight loss is still more than all of us have lost so far this season. So we've said it already, but it bears repeating. He's a legend, isn't it, really? Tom has no more percentage milestones left to chase down, but his next target is maintenance. Unbelievably. Is it within 5 or 6 kilos if he decides to want to go that far?
And he's tall, man. He's the tallest lad there, isn't he? He's got to be
by some way.
He's got to be 6.5 plus feet, and is he maybe taller than that?
Yeah, he and Ollie, I think, are the 2 tallest, and big Luke Cage as well. Cagey's big, isn't he? Yeah. I think
all guys,
between
Cage is 6'3", I think, and 6'4".
Yeah, so I think you're right. I tell you what, whoever gets him on the Greatest Losers team in goal are very, very lucky because he's a cat. So I bet he feels a 11-a-side goal as well as a 6-a-side goal. He's pretty impressive.
Yeah, right. Is he the same height as Donnarumma? He's not far off Donnarumma's height, is he?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, he ducks under the post.
All right. Last man standing, I should say, saw a record field of 85 contestants start the competition proper after last week's preliminary round. 11 of the 45 grace weeks were required, while 17 players who didn't qualify for a grace week were knocked out at the first time of asking. Of 28 who didn't lose weight, 18 were absent, meaning only 10 players across the whole club gained weight, which is a remarkable collective achievement. 2 new players, so welcome back Sam and Jack, by the way, I should say, weighing in for the first time were counted as losing weight for the purposes of last man standing, but anyone who joined the club from this point will have to wait for season 12's competition.
Yeah.
So, yeah. George O'Callaghan celebrated his return to the club by heading up Team of the Week at the first
time. Welcome back, George.
Yeah, welcome back, George.
With an excellent 2.2 kilo loss.
Yeah,
Josh Buxton confirmed his season ticket into the top table for making the team for the 5th week in a row.
Yeah, mad.
So good.
That's every week he's been eligible.
Has it been done before?
I don't think that's been done before.
What? No. What? 5 times teams of the week?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think so.
Every week he's been here. No.
And like you say, and the fact that it's consecutively, and the fact that it's been every week, he could possibly do it. He's done it.
Yeah, fair play.
It's insane. It is insane.
Yeah, so good.
I know he was saying to me on the sideline as we walked away last week, he's already feeling the effects of the weight he's lost already in terms of moving on the pitch. Yeah. I think he's lost somewhere in the region of 12 kilos already.
Jesus.
In 5 or 6 weeks, I think it is. Gareth Hensby, by the way, is the only other survivor from last week.
Good work.
2 in a row for him.
Gareth's doing really well.
So, yeah.
He kind of quite frequently goes under the radar, doesn't he, from a weight loss point of view? He's fairly consistent.
Yeah. George then leads, so we got 2.2 at the top. Josh Buxton then is joint second, I should say, with 2 kilos. Michael Burt there for 2 kilos. Jimmy Murphy makes team of the week with 1.9 kilos.
Well done, Jimbo.
Yeah. Yes. Tom Marks there again with 1.7 kilos. Gareth Hensby with 1.6, and Ramsey, who has recently rejoined as well.
Ramsey's back.
Kilos.
I didn't get to catch up with him on Friday, but it was so good to see him back.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And he reminded me of what a nightmare he was playing against the Reds.
proper OG is Ramsey.
Yeah. So let's keep going then, really. With 12 weeks remaining, it's still early enough in the season that everything is still to play for. More importantly, now is the perfect time to make a meaningful difference to your long-term health outlook. Time to fix your eyes on the prize and get this done. So
definitely.
Let's get it, lads.
Where does 12 weeks take us up to in terms of actual date?
December the 16th or 13th, somewhere around that time.
That sounds
like the week before we break.
Sounds 13th. Sounds like a Saturday the 14th of December is the night for the Christmas party. Then I reckon. I
think we've got. Yeah, I think I was talking to Steve about it. I think we've got 1 week before we break for the Christmas. You know, we get the day or the 2 days off that we don't do over Christmas and New Year. I think we've got one. I think the season ends with 1 week spare.
Yeah, so we have season ends on the 13th. The 20th would be the Friday after. So in theory,
I think it's that
I
one.
haven't unconfirmed, but in theory, if we have a friendly week, then the week after that will be the 27th. So we won't have anything on.
No, and you won't have one on New Year.
After that. Yeah, 3rd either. So it could
be a new season.
The new season starts on the 10th,
which is going to be an absolute killer because the starting weight will be just before Christmas.
Yeah, and then you're straight in.
And then you're into Christmas. Yeah. I know you can't get an own goal, but the first week back, you're going to have basically a week and a half after Christmas to lose all your Christmas weight. Otherwise, it's going to be OG Central.
Yeah. Let's not scare people now, Ben. Let's just try and go through this season to the end.
I'm going to make I'm going to do a little side hustle on this, and we'll have a little sweep on what the count of OGs is for that second week back after Christmas. That'd be amazing.
Ben's clock's already ticking. He's already going to have the team sandbagging.
Maybe we get 2 weeks of no OGs on that one, because we did last time, didn't we? Two no OGs after Christmas.
I think we did, yeah. But what I was saying, I think if I'm happy to, it kind of contradicts what I'm about to talk about, but I'm happy to try and organise a Christmas booze up like last time. I know it wasn't anything special, but just getting us together.
Straight in, organising stuff again. Come on, mate. We've missed it.
But I reckon we went George Taps last time, didn't we? Just something like that.
I missed it last time.
Yeah, just to booze up. So mark your calendars. I think that Saturday the 14th seems like a viable date as an idea of doing it. At least the damage can be. You got a little bit of time to work damage off from copious amounts of beers up until we start again in January.
Oh, it's terrifying. Yeah. I'm scared already.
Yeah.
So, Jack, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, mate.
Very big welcome back. How have you been? Firstly, I should ask.
Yes, mate. I've been good. Admittedly, I have been better, I think, mentally since not doing the Man v Fat. My waistline certainly hasn't thanked the time away from it. I think it's 7 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, basically summer holidays. My waistline certainly hasn't thanked me, and I put on more than I expected to, which proves a lot to me, which I'll come to in a moment. But I think as I said, I kind of contradicted myself by saying I'll organise the Christmas party. I think I got to a point where, with work, home life, football, the Thursday nights, the Friday nights, the Tuesday nights, the Sundays, I think everything. I think my brim became pretty full. I think I got to a point where I needed to. Let's put it this way. I think I got to a point where I broke. I lost my head.
Your bucket overflowed.
Absolutely, yeah. And I lost my head, and I fell out with some people at football that I didn't want to fall out with. I had George Howe gave me a little nudge in the back, a completely innocuous nudge in the back after me kicking a ball away, and I turned around and wanted a bit of him, and then because I couldn't get hold of him, I took a lump out of Kev's shin instead. And two players that I'm very fond of from my Purples time, and I kind of walked away from that, kind of going, I need to get myself out of this before I make myself worse, or I start falling out of people that I have genuine affection for, and a group of people that mean an awful lot to me. So, yeah, I thought that was probably the right time to take a step away. I didn't officially back out of it. The idea behind me officially backing out of it is to stop the Blues from being screwed over by having 10 registered players but not getting a freebie. It did make me laugh because Rob, obviously Rob from the now Blues captain, messaged me the day that I told him I'd pulled out officially. He's like, you weren't even cold and Steve's replaced you. So me dropping out didn't it helped him because they got another player, but it didn't help them grabbing a free ringer when they needed it. So I said it shows how quickly you can be replaced. But
absolutely,
from a point
no one's
jest,
bigger than the club, Jack.
Exactly that. So it was a tough decision, and I certainly got to a point where I cared far too much about what was happening on the pitch, and I was putting myself through quite a bit of stress coming to Thursday, realizing that I needed to shift quite a bit of weight, and I was doing it the wrong way. I was able to get myself down like a couple of 100 grams each week, and then just basically pile it all back on again. Come to Thursday again, crash diet, go sit in a sauna for a couple of hours on a Thursday and a Friday, and be okay. And at the end of the day, I was getting like that down each week, but you're only cheating yourself when you're doing that. And I think what I need to understand is, for my health and where I want to be and how I want to get fitter and healthier, is that is absolutely not the way to do it. And I need to do it right and keep doing it right. So let's see.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because obviously you've been a big part of Man v Fat Bournemouth, being there from the off, and also a massive advocate of it, with this podcast and all the other, like you say, all the other organisational stuff you've done. If anything's ever needed organising, you've always been the guy, the kind of go-to guy.
The guy. The guy in the league.
And there was quite a big reaction to you stepping away. A lot of people said, "Oh my God, that's mad. That's a massive miss. Jack does so much for this club, and it'll be a big loss, and this, that, and the other." I mean, I don't know. I can't really speak for you, Josh, but I always knew that it was only a temporary thing, and you would be back, knowing you as well as I think I do. But I don't know how for the people that don't belong to our Man v Fat Club who listen to this, it was never explained as to why you felt you needed to step away. So the fact you wanted to talk about it and come back and talk about it is really good. And myself and Josh actually said that you guys have never actually been interviewed per se as to your kind of journeys and what you guys go through, because you two are the original podcast host. You just kind of dragged me in at some point, but by interviewing me. So, you know, I've done my kind of bit on here. So it's quite nice for you to open. I know we have a little bit, you know, but we've not really done a real deep dive into you and what makes you tick and et cetera. So it's quite nice and a good opportunity for you to kind of open up and talk a little bit about what drives you and why you felt you needed to step away.
Yeah, I'm not overly keen about showing vulnerabilities with certain things. I'm pretty proud person, and also, as you well know, nobody else plays, stupidly competitive, but to the point where it doesn't do me favors. I walk off in a huff, and I think Friday I've already proven a point to myself, because any other week previously, best way of putting it, if I hadn't have had that kind of blow up moment that I did against the Reds when I jacked it in, I think Friday just gone, and the way that you guys dismantled us and me caring so much about the football side of things, that would have been enough to push me over the edge. And I walked away from it going, it is what it is. I've got to remember that this is not why I'm here. This is a plus. This is a bonus. I can keep the Tuesdays and the Thursdays and the Mondays and the Sundays and any other night that there's football on as the competitive football. The Friday nights can be an added bonus for football, and it's the weight loss that's going to make things better for me there than the football, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's your plan then going forward? Because obviously you've been around for a long time. You've been here, you know, for over 3 years now, and as you say, you know, you've only lost. Well, I don't know if you did it pre-record or whether you've spoken about how much, when you'd spoken to Steve about leaving, and you worked out how much weight you'd actually lost in this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically,
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do differently? What's the plan?
That's the $1 million question. I think to say I've got a perfectly mapped out plan would be the wrong thing to do. What I'm going to do is take it week by week, and day by day. And if I can manage my diet and everything like that, I do enough exercise. Well, I always laugh and always have the conversation with my wife and often my wife's family. They're like, the amount of football you play, they don't say, oh, you're much bigger than you should be, but they're like, you should be fitter than you are. And I was like, absolutely. And
you've got to actually run around, Jack. That's the thing. You can't.
I do try. I do try. It's certainly been a lot harder since coming back. But the amount of football, I'm at a point. I was at a point before jacking it in that I was probably at the fittest I've been for a while, and not necessarily the lightest, but the fittest. I was kind of, and I think I've always conditioned my body to cope with the pains and the aches that I kind of put it through playing football, because I am too heavy for it. I've got a metal ankle, I've got bad knees, I've got things that are going wrong with my legs, but there's times that I feel absolutely fine, and then there's times that I walk away going, I don't think I can do that again. And that's normally after 11s, to be honest. That's the most grueling, although probably my most the football I enjoy the most, because it's kind of the purest form from what I remember growing up and playing. So to be completely honest, and I will be honest, I don't think I have a plan other than to take each day by day. Think about one thing I'd heard somebody else say is that I record my food, but I was often recording it through like my Fitness Pal, scanning it after I'd eaten it. And what I want to do is I want to do it before and go, actually have a look at what is in this, how many calories, is it worth it, and kind of have that moment of going, do I want this? Am I actually, a lot of the time, am I thirsty instead of hungry? All these sorts of things. And I want the active side of things, just walking more. I can do a lot more to make the football hurt less, if that makes sense, when I play, because I'm certain I've always struggled. I remember years and years ago, before Man v Fat, I was going to a PT and I lost quite a bit of weight with it, but I could never do the squats. My knees just wouldn't let me squat anything, and I'm sure I've inherited bad knees from my mum. Jordan's worse. Jordan's dislocated, I think, one knee twice. I think he's got loose joints in his knee. So we've inherently got poor knee joints, and my weight certainly doesn't help with that. So and I kind of got to think about how I can do things that are less impactful, but also get myself fitter for when I do play football, and it hurts less when I am running more than I am at the moment and doing more than what I'm doing at the moment. So yeah, a long answer to a short question, but really cool, I think that's the crux of it. I want to take it, drink more day by day, and then eventually week by week get myself into a routine where I can continuously lose weight and make sustainable choices and decisions that don't mean I don't have to go sit in a
it's certainly
sauna
what you're
on a Friday.
Yeah, what you're saying certainly advocates the fact that, you know, while you're quite active and you're doing a lot of exercise, you're still not losing the weight, and that basically advocates it's about food.
Oh, it's 80%, 20, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, for you to feel, you know, fit and healthy and good and positive, but actually you're not losing any weight, that's absolutely down to what you're eating. But, you know, at the end of the day, mate, you've realised it. You've taken a step back. You've evaluated. You've come back fighting, and it's just really, really nice to have you back, mate. It was really nice to see you. There was a big hole in the place when you weren't there. It was really, you know, palpable knowing that you weren't there. So it was nice to feel your presence last week. So yeah, good to have you back, mate.
I appreciate it. I think the other thing I think I've got to be conscious of, unfortunately, my lifestyle needs to change in terms of my eating habits. My job can't change. That's the source of income and what I do, and I enjoy it, and it pays the bills, and I do well from it because I work hard at it. But being on the road all the time, as we were talking about earlier when we were off mic talking about the step challenge, is that it's very difficult to achieve the steps that I want to achieve and put the numbers in that I want to achieve. When I'm, as an example, today I've spent 6.5 hours in the car. Of my working day. It becomes very difficult, and I know people have desk jobs, but mine's a desk job or in a car job, so I've got to, at least if you're at home, you can limit what you've got in the fridge, but when you stop at a service station, you pay a fortune for anything healthy, and the shit food is too easy and available. So it's it's one of those things. So I've got to change everything. I've got to not see it as a diet. I've got to see it as a lifestyle change, and I've got to do it. I'm very, very, very pleased to say that I've got a new niece. Luke's had a little girl last week. So
congratulations to those guys.
Just another kind of reminder of how important family are and how I want to be around for not just my kids, but to see the kids in the family grow up. And I want to be healthy. I don't want to be that fat uncle sat in a corner at weddings because he can't move. Do you know what I mean? I want to be in and present in their lives, all of them. So
we've had a couple of babies. Talk about babies. We've had a couple of babies. Sorry to completely digress, but Dan's
Dan Lloyd.
Dan Lloyd,
yeah.
Greg. They were born on the same day as well.
Yeah.
Jesus was telling me last night.
Yeah. They were in the hospital at the same time, weren't they?
Yeah, and they're related, aren't they? Dan and Greg. Or sister-in-law or something. Brother and sister-in-laws or something like that.
Yeah, Greg is Dan's brother-in-law. Dan's brother-in-law.
That's the way. Yeah, I know it was something. So that's. I'm sure there was another as well, wasn't there? I know Scott's little one was
one not so long ago.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone else is expecting. There is
George Lucas just had a baby in our team.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Yeah.
Baby season.
Yeah. Baby Jude, Project Jude on
Project Jude.
As I'm sure he would say. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations to everyone who has either just become a parent or is having their second one or third, whatever. But congratulations. There's obviously something in the air 9 months ago.
Yeah, right.
They weren't all on the same team, were they? That would be weird.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Some momentous victory.
Yeah, I don't think so. We're all too hot and sweaty, and it's too late on a Friday night. I think if anybody's getting any,
I would have said they're all fans of the same team, but I know Dan Lloyd's a Spurs fan, so
he's not never celebrating and commiserating maybe.
Oh, bless him. Good news.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jack, thank you for that. It's very honest of you. Very enlightening. And we're thrilled to have you back, mate.
Definitely. Yeah.
Just as someone, as I would say, this is just my opinion, but this is something I've done. So it may be aware I'm no longer captain of the Yellows.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a captain again. That's my decision made, essentially.
Yeah.
That's my own mental health as such, but also just, again, it's I felt like I was trying to take on too much, and I need to step back from that and kind of get back. I've had 2 bad seasons weight-wise, or at least this season's been poor. This last one, and that could have contributed. Not saying it has, but it could have. And so my assessment on, just from my perspective, is not always to try and take on too much.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was ever the case with you, Jack, but you know your limits better than I do. But it's a case of, if, say, not being a captain helps you a little bit more, or not being, involved in, say, organizing 11s or Thursdays or whatever it is you do, that might give you a bit more freedom to be clearer and focus a little bit more, is, in my mind, always going to be beneficial.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not me trying to preach. It's just a case of that's how it's worked for me. So it might be the case with you. It might be the case with anyone, really, or it might not be.
I think you're right.
Maybe being heavily involved is what spurs you on. Maybe it isn't.
Yeah. I think it is also fair to say, when taking into consideration stepping away, I knew I had a holiday with the family. I had a golf holiday that's just gone past, although unfortunately it went for another story for another day, but that went to rat shit, unfortunately. But yeah, there was a lot of Fridays over the summer months that I was due to miss through work engagements, holidays, things like that. And again, there was a level of it thinking, if I'm not there, I'm not helping. So kind of it all just amalgamated into one decision that it was the right thing to do, is step away. And it was hard. I missed it for the first couple of Fridays, was a real hole. And especially as I pulled out of everything in terms of Tuesdays and Thursdays too, it was a real stinker. And I certainly noticed it more than I wanted to, if that makes sense. And it made me realise how much I missed you ugly bastards.
Understandable, mate.
Dare you.
But in all seriousness, there's such a good brotherhood behind it, and the messages that I received and the well wishes that I received was overwhelming, and I found it difficult to reply to a lot of them without getting upset. And I didn't want to get upset. I didn't want to feel like how it was making me feel, and I think that was enough to make me realise that I needed to come back. I would go back, and long may it last. And hopefully the next time I leave is because I've lost enough and I've played enough that my legs are hanging off me, and I shouldn't be playing football anymore. But we'll see.
Yeah.
That's mate.
All right. Fair enough, mate. Well, shall we discuss your favourite team then, Jack, as the honour of having you back?
Yes.
Your favourite team. That sounds, your team.
My team.
Yeah.
See, some people only have one team, Josh.
Yeah.
Well, this is
fair.
Jack,
I can't say I don't. I was at Anfield on Saturday to watch Bournemouth. I went up with Jordan, his lad, and my lad. So yeah, I can't preach that I'm a one man team, but my one true love is certainly the Gooners. And what a game at the weekend. And I did make me laugh.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't want to say it, but I know, Ben, you hopped in and was like, it's going to be a boring 0-0. And I think at the end, I think so many times recently it had been that, because it's so tight. And again, admittedly, this is a draw, and it was. You should have seen how close Arsenal took it to almost winning it. It was a cigarette paper's width from doing it. And it was just such a topsy-turvy, strange game to watch, but also super exciting for any neutral. And imagine you two probably enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was good to see.
The second half was brilliant.
Yeah, I think the first half was a great advocate of the two who I consider the two best teams in the league at the moment, going at it and really going for each other. And there was that opening moment of Havertz running into Rodri set the tone. And it's amazing how often, I don't think Havertz realises what a thermometer is. And is that the right term? It's not a thermometer. That tells you what controls the heat or the temperature. What's the term? Thermostat. He's a thermostat for a lot of things. Do you remember that time that he riled up the Newcastle fans by taking out somebody unnecessarily right on the byline, and they ended up winning that game, or we ended up losing the win, or whatever it was. He certainly has this impact that I don't think he realizes that he has. And he set that tone pretty early in the game to kind of run straight through him. Ironically, Haaland did exactly the same to Partey in the second half. I don't blame him. I'm sure we probably all would have done the same. So yeah, it was quite a topsy-turvy game. What are your thoughts on it? Did you think that was a fair result in the end?
I guess so. It's a weird one, really, because I think Arsenal did actually really well. You know, that they did well to be 2-1 up at half time, and then they did well with 10 men to control much of that half, just basically remove all the space that Man City thrive on. And they did phenomenal, and they are the best defence in the league, hands down. Arsenal are the best defence in the league, and that was proven, that was shown.
Yeah.
You know, so but ultimately when you got 10 men and you're away to Man City, keeping that last one out, just even if it was a bit scrappy, is just
it just seems so inevitable, didn't it?
Well, mate, I mean, Christ, going 45, 50 plus minutes against the best footballing side in the Premier League for the last,
probably the world.
Yeah, for the last 5 to 8 seasons, probably more, to go all that distance to bang in a goal. It was, that was a pretty harsh goal just with a minute to go.
Yeah.
I thought you were hard done by, mate, to be honest. I thought Arteta played it really, really well. And I thought all the Arsenal players to a man, and they were getting jip about not completing this, that and the other. And Havertz, one of the only players to not complete a single pass a game. That guy I thought he had a great game.
He did. He ran more than anybody else.
Yeah. So it just goes to show, that although you don't do some of the stats that they call, you can still have a massive impact on a game.
Yeah.
I thought he was all over the place, and I thought although I really enjoyed it, I thought that was harsh on Arsenal, especially if they end up losing the season by a point or 2 points. I think that's tough.
But I would ask you, as a fan then, Jack, did you come away from that game, forget the result, did you come away from that game more confident or less confident of your chances of winning the title?
That wasn't the question I thought you were going to ask. That's interesting. I think I'm more confident now.
Yeah. If I was a fan, I would be more confident.
Yeah, definitely.
Having seen through the difficult times of like the end of Wenger era into the Emery era, some of the players we've had and the soft underbelly. You remember Troy Deeney going on TV and going, just going to go bully them. I know I can just push their centre backs about. I don't know anybody that was going to fancy pushing Gabriel and Saliba about and actually come off better. I know that Haaland scored, but I can't say he had a great game and got the better of the two of them, and he often doesn't. I think Arteta has built a team of old, a team that Arsenal knew well in terms of those giants in the tunnel that you look over and go, cool, they're a lot bigger than I thought, and all of them are big. And I know people, especially the Spurs fans, anti-football and things like that. I just think it's what a game we had on our hands if Trossard didn't get sent off, and I think he should have done. I think that is a second yellow. He's a fool for doing it, and it's such a silly thing to do, especially with the spotlight being on Arsenal. It was such a silly thing to do, but it was a rush of blood, and you could see he kind of hesitated and did it, and then realised. But I think we're on for one hell of a second half if it stayed as 11 men each.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is forgotten and is, again, I'm going to preach because I'm a gooner, but what Arsenal needed credit for is if you look at that week leading up, so you're playing away at Spurs, so your biggest local rival. There's no way that they're anywhere near being our rival, but local rival. Going away to Italy on a Thursday, playing Atlanta that won Europa League last year. I think they did, didn't they? They won the Europa League, a very organised, tough team. And then playing City on Sunday, against City playing at home against Brentford, at home against Inter Milan, and then at home against Arsenal. I think that's forgotten about. And there's times that you had Timber going down with cramp. This guy, Timber, missed an entire season. He played one game all season. He just completed 3 consecutive 90 minutes. And he was, I think he came off the end, didn't he? They had to take him off. But that was a player that needed the break and probably did have cramp. Like, if there was one player on the pitch that was like that, that's one that I'd go, that's probably fair. So I think there's something that, again, I think I understand why other fans of other teams won't give a shit about that or won't even have thought about that. But it's something that certainly came up when we looked at kind of the fixture schedule. You go, hang on a minute, this to play your biggest rival in terms of your local team and then your biggest rival in terms of your chance of winning the league, back-to-back away games with an away game in the Champions League in the middle on a Thursday when City played on a Wednesday night. I think they did remarkably well.
Yeah, I mean,
the question I think
it's a massive week, isn't it?
Yeah,
emotionally more than
I think the question I thought
se.
you were going to ask, Josh, was about would I have taken a draw at half time? And even at 84 minutes, 85 minutes when I wasn't even in the room, I would have taken a draw at that point. It was so inevitable that it was coming. It was ridiculous. I also discovered the very worst way of finding out what's happening in the football game is asking your 11-year-old son to describe it to you from the other room. He's like, he's almost scored. I'm like, who? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, this is. I don't know if it's worth watching or worth listening to you trying to describe it to me. Bless him. But the inevitable moment came, and my wife was like, they've scored. I was like, I know they've scored. They were going to score. It is what it is. I was just sat at the dinner table like. I'm just kind of counting down the minutes, waiting for that final whistle to go, and it just didn't come, unfortunately. Yeah. But I think there's a few things that have upset me in terms of the behaviour of some of the City players. In particular, one in particular, Haaland. I think he's a bit of a dick. And I think he's.
Should we just cut it there?
I think the easiest way of doing it is we've had a similar conversation about Bruno, Josh. Is that he's a dick, but you want him on your team, not against you. Do you know what I mean? He's a dick, but he's our dick, if that makes sense. Like, it's one of those things. It's like playing with Luke. He's a dick, but he's your dick. You get him on your team instead of somebody else's team.
But you want a bit of that, don't you? Against the big, it reminds me of Man United Arsenal rivalry back in the day.
I get that.
It's nice to get some passion in there, and then not all just give each other a big hug at the end of the game. You know, because they're all mates, because they all play international football together and blah, blah, blah. It's nice when there's some real rivalry in there and someone's a bit aggy and it gets a bit heated. That's what people want to see. That's what the fans want to see. But I totally understand. On the pitch,
but at the end, I want to see him be respectful of a team that we clearly routed him because for him to him out and Arteta, I completely agree that Arteta is often a pain in the arse and pisses other managers and fans and players off. But he didn't say a word to Haaland. I think he even shook Haaland's hand, and then Haaland's like, "Be humble, be humble," tapping him on the back. I'm like, "Sorry, you fucking prick."
Yeah.
That's one thing that kind of irritated me. But I can't wait for round 2. I think, and I just know they're going to get each other in the cup at some point. There's going to be more than just the league games this season. You just get that feeling. Do you remember that season that I know that La Liga was a bit different with how they see cup competitions, but there was one season that there was like 7 El Clasicos where they'd caught each other in the cups, they got each other in the Champions League, they played each other twice in the league. I'm not saying it's going to be to that extent, but I can imagine I just get a feeling there's going to be like a knockout Champions League game that we're going to get each other or something like that, which I absolutely relish. I can't wait. that's a ticket that I'd love to have, to be in that stadium when they come to the Emirates. Cool. It's going to be fierce. It's going to be up for it. And it's something that I've been dying for my team to be like. You think about Anfield when they're rolled up, ready to go on a Champions League night or anything. It's just something you've been begging for a long time with my team.
I think I would just say as a final takeaway from that, I think Arsenal can be pretty proud of just how much respect and how rattled, almost as you were saying, that Man City are about that game and Arsenal in general. I think because I think that proved that they were like, okay. Yeah, these guys are proper challengers.
Yeah, definitely.
No, we're not. They're not. Last season, I think there was a little bit of like almost a kind of arrogance, almost to City thinking, "Oh, that's fine." They're not quite there yet. We're okay. Yeah. I don't think that. I think that game this season kind of proved that maybe now is the time where they're thinking, "Oh, wait, hang on a second," and they've lost Rodri for the season.
Yeah, that's a big
byproduct of that. That's a big thing.
I'm certainly not one of these fans that are celebrating. I've seen pictures of some proper piss take photos of people who've got like their background at work of like Rodri rolling around on the floor crying. I'm not interested in that shit. That's not.
No. I mean, it's bad for football.
Celebrating anybody's.
It is bad for football.
Not celebrating anybody's demise.
But hasn't he been nominated for the Ballon d'Or? Is he in the mix for Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, it's a good chance he could win it. Yeah, obviously with Spain winning the.
Yeah. I mean, no one wants that for anybody. He's a massive part of that team. So
he's a big loss.
But I tell you what, I was really impressed with. I've been really impressed.
See in your face, Josh. Can you see the score? Have you seen the goal?
Yeah. I've seen it. I've just seen it. Sorry, we're recording. I've just seen.
Glad you're paying attention.
Sorry, you're flashing up on my screen.
I was really impressed with, or have been really impressed with Savio for City. I think he's been an excellent addition. Sorry, Savinho. He's been an excellent addition for them down that right wing. He's been, well, obviously Foden's not been playing, and it'll be interesting to see how much game time he gets when Foden comes back. But it'll also be interesting when Foden comes back as to where he plays, because obviously De Bruyne is out as well. I think it's important to remember that they were missing De Bruyne and Foden. I think it may have been a potential different outcome had those two boys been playing, but I still don't think you can take anything away from the way Arsenal played. I think they played really, really well, and they were really unlucky not to get the win, even with 10, to be honest. So fair play.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by it. A couple of really good goals in it as well. Very quickly before we move on, I think Calafiori's goal was pretty impressive, and Gabriel did Gabriel things. That header was just an absolute bullet, and
which Josh was really upset about.
Was hilarious, wasn't it? Like poking him in the stomach, and then just completely let him run past him. Like, come on, mate, it's really poor, but hilarious.
They're good from it. They got good set pieces. They're good at set pieces.
Yeah, really good.
One thing, just moving on then slightly, it is about Man City, but so it's not really moving on too far. But since you've been away, Jack, and we haven't really covered it too much on the pod, big, potentially huge sporting news obviously has come out. I know we know that Man City are now going through their charges, their hearings for their 115 charges.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go as far as to say it's the biggest sporting potential story in modern history. I'm not going to say that, but it's a huge thing for sport in general, not just football. There's rumours of 60 to 100 points potentially that they would.
No way they'll give them that.
Well, this is what I'm going to ask. Basically, what I was going to ask you is, what do we think? What do we think the outcome is going to be? What would we hope the outcome is almost? And
my honest opinion is
it's a big thing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
There's two parts to it. I don't want to win the league because of it. I want to win the league fair and square, same as I want to win the league with Rodri being fit and available for them, not for them to go, oh, you only won it because of Rodri. The other side of it is that if Leicester can tie the Premier League in knots and do them over from getting point deduction as easy as they did by moving a financial year end date by a month, City's lawyers will tie the Premier League in knots. The Premier League has been so poorly run for so long.
Yeah.
They'll go, right, okay, you're bollocking at us for this, but how about this? Or what about this you did? Or what about this you've done wrong? Or here's a loophole that you didn't know. Or here's another loophole you didn't know. And I think it will probably end up being, my opinion now, is I reckon they'll get something like a 20-point deduction no kind of historical retribution in terms of titles being stripped from them or anything like that. I don't think anybody wants to win a title that way. I don't want it to go down in the record books with an asterisk next to it that Arsenal won the league last year. And I think they're going to get nothing more than 20 points. And I think it will be a blueprint on how the Premier League need to run things moving forward, and how they need to and keep themselves clean moving forward. But I think they'll just worm their way out of it.
Yeah, my only thought is they've got to set a marker. This is, I mean, if we're talking about, and people would argue that they did that with Everton and Notts Forest and people like that to begin with, setting 6 points or 8 points for something that's not in the same league. 1 charge, 2 charges, not 115 charges. But I just think, obviously we know, I get what you're saying. It's a kind of a balancing act, because it's an element of like, you expect them to be harsh because that's what they've tried to do so far and tried to lay the law down. But we know very well that this is a huge thing from years past, and you can't have any retrospective punishment as such too much. No. So it's all very like, what's fair? I would argue fair is kind of, if they are guilty, and let's just say they're guilty of all of them, I think fair is like relegation and transfer bans and stuff, but that's not plausible in my mind. I just don't know.
Is it too big a brand now to do that? Too much money behind it?
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? You say they're too big a brand, too much money, but that's part of the reason why they're getting done.
Yeah. So hang on a minute. So what was the situation? The only thing I can think of similar to this, and I can't remember the circumstances, was when Rangers went. Did Rangers go into administration and completely, and that was like they completely folded, or because they dropped down, like they had to re-enter the Scottish League, didn't they? And they basically built their way up from League 3 or whatever it was back over. Of course, they were going to do that because of the size of the club, but I can't remember if they went completely bankrupt and went into sort of solvency and then I
can't remember the whole story. All I remember is that they had to re-enter from the bottom tier and work.
Yeah, that's right. So that I mean that would be pretty drastic. I mean, if they really went for him and said, right, what you're going to have to do is we're going to boot you out of the EFL completely, and you're going to have to come in and work your way back up from. I mean, there's talk of that. I mean, that would be completely bonkers, but I don't think that would happen. I think it would. There's too much money and too much stuff involved.
I think if they did
I don't think they'd even relegate them, to be honest. I think that they'll give them a hefty points, like you, Jack. I think they'll get a hefty points deduction, but not enough to really cause any issue, because they're never going to get relegated. Even if they got a 60-point deduction, they're probably not going to get relegated. Do you know what I mean? So they would give them a hefty points deduction with a hefty fine, and they might put some transfer embargoes in there, like a bit like Chelsea had, and say, we've taught them a lesson. We've made an example of them, and they won't be naughty boys again.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, though, isn't it? It's a
bit of course it is.
It's a mockery of it.
The owners won't care. I'd almost argue the owners don't care if they're in the Women's Championship. They would just say, well, we've had 10 years of success already.
Yeah,
that was well worth 10 years of success.
You think how damaging it is to the brand, though? The Premier League is at war with its champions.
Yeah.
It's just fucked up. I just Googled as well the Rangers situation. So they were relegated to the 3rd division of Scottish football from the season 2012 to 13.
Yeah.
And then the SVL voted to let the club rejoin as an associate member and placed Rangers into the 3rd division that point. So
and
they
what was
did
the reason for it, though? Was it because they went bankrupt? Or?
Administration and liquidation of the club. Yeah. But there's something I didn't know. Me and Jordan were talking on the way back from Liverpool, and he said about Bordeaux. I didn't realise Bordeaux had been. They had a double relegation just gone in July.
Okay.
So they're now 2 divisions down from where they are, and the reason why we spoke about it is because Andy Carroll plays for them and scored for them at the weekend, and it was like they're playing in like the 3rd division of French football. I was like, how are they in the 3rd division? And then we Googled it, or I think Jordan knew anyway. To be fair, his weird encyclopedic knowledge, he was like, yeah, they got relegated 2 divisions. So yeah, it is a common thing, but I guarantee Bordeaux don't have the state wealth
backing.
that City do to go and
No.
pick the best lawyers possible. And they would have walked it in a real like childish derogatory term. The lawyers would have walked in that kind of hearing with their dicks out, kind of going, "Go on, say something. I'll find something for you. This is what I've got for you." And it would be a counter argument to absolutely everything. And what makes me think that they'll go, let's just, for the sake of the reputation and everything else, let's just
come up with
settle on this.
Yeah.
But I've heard a lot of politicians talk about it because it's that big, by saying it needs to be a public inquest into it, and it needs to be shared what they've done and how they've done it, and also how they've got away with it. And they don't believe a lot will ever see the light of day. There will be so many NDAs and embargoes on the information because, again, these lawyers will insist on it because it will prove that City had done something wrong. And I don't think we'll ever get the real story behind it. And it will be one of those things that we watch in years to come, a documentary on it and what people believe to have happened.
Yeah. And what really happened.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
For the people that are now no longer associated with the football club and the whistleblowers.
Oh, yeah, there'll be some whistleblowers.
Can't wait for that.
It just makes
there'll be a few people that go missing in the desert somewhere.
Oh, yeah, right. It just makes an absolute mockery of it. And there's again, Arteta was asked today about like the dark arts, and he was like, he said, "Oh, do you have a problem with City complaining about the dark arts, this Man City players?" And he was like, "I was there for 4 years." And like, what do you mean by that? He's like, "I know everything. I was there for 4 years." And they've misconstrued it to him going, I know what they've been up to financially for the last 4 years, and this is what's going to happen. And clearly he meant Pep's done it forever and a day, and he knows what he's doing. And that's how quickly things are taken out of context and spun and changed.
Yeah, so there'll be loads of stories. Once a verdict comes down, there'll be loads of things. You know, you won't be able to breathe for.
I just get a feeling it'll be years, because by the time
years, Pep won't be there.
We'll find out this season what the punishment is, and then there'll be an appeal process that will then take forever and a day.
Yeah, absolutely. But my argument would be, let's see what happens with the players and Pep if they get handed, if it's guilty. How many of the players will think, I don't want to be associated with the club? Probably not many, but
as long as they get that bank balance.
Will Pep, after all his bluster about the fact that he wants it to be done by the book and he trusts his club and blah blah blah, that
he walks.
Yeah, I was assuming he would walk in anyway, and then if he walks, then some of the players walk, and that's the next argument. So I think either way, there I can see the end of a Man City dominance coming.
Without them, I think, even if they didn't, without Pep, I think they would struggle.
Yeah. I think he's got to be coming towards the end of his tenure anyway, isn't he? How long is he going to stay there for? What's his next challenge? It's got to be an international challenge for him, isn't it? Argentina job, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I have seen some funny memes of like Rodri coming back after injury next season, realising he's playing away to Woolston Raiders or whatever it is. Paddy Power was obviously straight on to that. Very, very funny. Again, not mocking his injury, but more like laughing at what they're doing about it. But you just can't see it happening, unfortunately. I think they deserve everything they get if they are found guilty, and they won't be because they'll worm their way out of it.
Yeah.
As people with money do.
That's right. Yeah,
so hypothetical conversation. Anyway.
Very interesting though. Watch this space, I reckon.
Something that we haven't touched on yet, Josh, and I wanted to just quickly, I don't know whether you're prepared for this, but I just wanted to go back to Man v Fat stuff and talk about a little bit about this week's challenge.
Yes.
We haven't mentioned it, and I think it's important.
Let's go through that then.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, by the time this comes out, the challenge will have been finished.
Exactly. So I think
it's amazing how many steps my dogs clock up in a day when I just tie my watch to their collar.
Just around the garden.
I didn't even think of that way around it.
Who knew?
So this week, this season, we are trialing a few challenges as some added incentives with some goal benefits. So 1 or 2 goals for your team, etc., or one for an individual. Nothing too drastic, but enough to potentially pull in some incentive. There are going to be a range of challenges. I won't on here say what the next 3 are going to be, but this week's challenge was a step challenge with a bit of a twist. So I say a twist. There's a bit of fortune involved, let's just say, the Wheel of Fortune, whereby essentially the idea is simple. You try and rack up as many steps as you can throughout the week or throughout the 5 days, Sunday through Thursday, as an individual and as a team. There's then a little bit of a random chance, Wheel of Fortune draw. And if you have more steps or have walked more steps than what it lands on, essentially, the Wheel of Fortune, for the end of the week, you gain points for your team. And then the team with the most points will earn the extra bonus goals. And then the individual with the most steps will earn a bonus goal as well.
So potentially that's the 3 idea. Goals, 3 bonus goals on
3 bonus
for
goals
for
one team, potentially 2 for the team and then 1 for the individual. So I think it's a nice thing just to get. Yeah, the idea behind it is simple, really. Is to try and get people thinking a bit more about their movement, thinking a bit more about the few steps. I gave an example before we started on the podcast that I walked to my local Tesco rather than driving, which I usually do,
buy some bacon
because of this challenges. Yeah, well, yeah, to buy my usual bit of squishies and Charles bars of chocolate. No, so that kind of thing. And if it does that for anyone, if anyone's just more conscious about it, that is the aim of the challenge. Yes, the goals are a nice incentive to bring you along, but that's not really the full aim of the challenge ultimately. So we've got a few of them around through the season, different kinds of things that we're trialing this year, this season, I should say, to see if it adds benefit to the members and adds benefit to people's waistlines ultimately.
Yeah.
So far, my feedback midway through this week is pretty good. I think people are generally being a bit more conscious of it. There are some people who are really going for it.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty incredible numbers on some of the steps so far. It's not perfect. There are ways of thinking about it, but it's just that's not really the idea behind it. So my hope is that this is the kind of thing that we can trial and it's successful. We pick the right kind of ones that work for the league and that we can do it more often in the future. In the hope ultimately of making everyone's weight loss journeys that bit smoother or that much more successful.
Yeah, well, so. I like we were speaking about it off air, and I think it's certainly from our point of view, the lads have really engaged with it, and I think it's definitely been very positive. But yes, of course, there were questions around how it would be judged, etc. But as you say, you knew that there would be that kind of response, and it's not really about that. It's about, as you say, people being conscious of what they're doing and getting up and moving. And I think it's helped in a number of ways. I think it's helped for people to do that, but it's also helped people engage more as a group. I don't know about you guys, but our chat has been really busy with people talking about how much they're getting out, how they can't get out, what they can do to do extra stuff, and that in itself is a massive positive because it's got people talking about it, it's got people interested. So I think it's a great idea, and I think we'll be looking forward to the next ones as they drop, and it's another little thing to get the lads up and fit and ready for the next challenge. So yeah, I think it'll be great, mate. So kudos to you for instigating it, really.
Yeah,
I think it's worth mentioning as well. Josh has got a few things up his sleeve, and I think the more we get behind this and make this work and prove that it works, the more we're likely to have this sort of thing. And I think it can only be positive. But what's really important is that it's taken in the right spirit. I think you've got to trust the results that are shared. If you are one that's thinking about fixing it and tying your watch to the dog and whatever else, then it's not worth it. Honestly, it's not worth it. There's people out there working really hard to do it properly. So I think it's really important that we do it properly, and also we'll buy into it. And if the more we do it, I consciously, and again, the conversation we had before we started recording, I consciously, when I walked the dogs the other day, the normal route I took, I did it twice. So I did that extra, and that was only because I was thinking, cool, I could get a few more steps in here. This is a good way of getting more steps in. And if that small change has impacted one person, it's certainly going to be doing a lot more for other people too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I love it, Josh. Good work, mate. And Steve, well done.
Thank you. Now, don't help myself though. The admin's going to be a bloody nightmare.
Yes, it will, mate. Yes, it will.
When we were talking in our group about sending the screenshots through to you, I was like, poor Josh. poor Josh.
So 80 times, 400 screenshots, 80 times.
I would just sanity check it. I would just be like, pick a few at random just to be like, just going to check this one matches up to what they're telling me, and then other than that, I reckon I just trust it. You can't sit and go through
I
those.
just mean doing the maths and that. I just got to do the maths, haven't I? For
that's what spreadsheets
for the
are
whole
for.
thing for the challenge. Yeah, that's I'll do that. Easy enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Nice.
I'm looking forward to the results, and by the time this comes out, it will be closed, and the results will be coming this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
Yeah. So
yet
how will we
100%
find them out, Josh?
Yes.
Sorry.
So that's what I was about to say. I haven't yet 100% decided on that. There will be a leaderboard shared.
Surely.
There will be a leaderboard shared. I think the best thing to do is do it post-match. I don't think to do it pre-match. I don't think people knowing the results before they go in.
No.
Also, it builds a bit of suspense.
Helps.
The only thing, and maybe I'm bringing light to this, which where I shouldn't, and I might cut it, is that you will know kind of anyway because of the miscellaneous goals at the end of the when you get your results
through. Yeah, that's fine though. That's fine.
Yeah,
I think.
But that's something maybe I could reveal or have prepared to reveal
after the final
just
game.
after the final game rather than
yeah, that's smart. And then we'll see the results come through, and we'll see Steve spiel in the morning.
Yeah. So that's, I'm not 100%, but obviously I will be revealing a kind of a top, I don't know how many leaderboard for number of steps walked throughout the week.
Nice.
To make sure people are aware of that, and also run through the top teams and maybe a few little nuggets that I've found out from when I get the steps in, some statistics as to what it is.
Well,
so this number of steps is equivalent to how many miles, etc. Or
nice.
Nice. So things like that.
So we're saying it's 6 days, is it, or 5.5 days?
5 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the counted days.
Right. Okay. Fine.
For your steps, essentially midnight through midnight. So Thursday at midnight or Friday 12 a.m. whatever you want to call it is the deadline for the number of steps, and then 3 p.m. today, if you're listening to the pod, by the way, in the 3 hours you've got, is to send me the reminder to get me the steps, the screenshots or whatever it is, photos of whatever Connor was saying about his old tech thing that he was going to use to prove your steps essentially to me.
The reason why I ask and clarification on the days is I think we should have a little punt at how many we think the top scorer is going to have done. Start with you, Josh. What do you reckon?
Okay. I can't.
Are you privy to information?
Because I have information on some of the people who've already sent me day by day screenshots that I can give you a pretty close guess already. Okay, so I will not engage in this, but I'd love to hear what you guys think.
5 days, I think what is doable. Looking at some of the figures that our boys have posted, I would suggest that there's got to be a figure of around 150,000. There's got to be a figure around that, probably a bit higher.
Yeah,
It's a lot in it. That is a lot. 100.
Yeah, that's 30,000 a day.
That's 30,000
a day. And you've got some people who do physical jobs who are up on their feet. When I was doing a physical job, I was easy pushing 20 plus a day.
Yeah.
So if I had then the incentive to do a bit more, I could easily rack up another 5,000 a day doing that, which wouldn't quite get me to 150, but it would. I think if people are really pushing themselves, I think that's potentially achievable. So if anyone goes over that, I would suggest maybe there's a little bit of jiggery pokery going on. But it wouldn't surprise me if I saw a figure somewhere around there.
My number was about 165. I reckon somebody's going to pull out. So it's going to be serious numbers.
That's because Jack's on 130 and he's still got a day and a half to go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Busy dogs. But that's where where we'd done it previously. I can't remember. I don't think you were in our team at the time when we had. Were you when we did it with?
We did it with Reds. Davo did it, and he was giving people prizes.
Yes, that's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
And James and Dave were just smashing it every day. James
Scott,
was running.
Exactly what I was going to say. Scott, he absolutely smashed it, didn't he? Because he was running, walking the dog, all sorts. I think he did 120 in a week, I think was his record.
Something like that.
Or something like that. So I reckon, there's a chance somebody's going to push that number quite high. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing those numbers come through.
Yeah. I don't know if this gives it away, but I'm not going to really say the number, but someone sent me a screenshot of their last week as is this going to be acceptable to give
if I do it this way?
If I do it this way. And the number I saw in that was pretty insane.
Astronomical.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay, it was over 7 days. But even so, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
okay. That's people who do, like I say, physical jobs, maybe walk to work, and I mean, if you can do that, then brilliant. I mean, like we say, obviously it doesn't work for everybody because some of us, for example, who have desk jobs predominantly struggle and don't have the time to go out and do extra steps because we've got other commitments. It's hard to do it. So kudos to those that have actually managed to get up but for me, it's like you say, the fact that you're actually thinking about it and get up and say, right, I normally only do 5,000 steps in a day because I'm sat behind a desk most of the day, whatever. I'm going to try and get a little bit of extra in, even to up that to sort of 7,000 or 8,000 just by going for a half-hour walk at lunchtime or whatever. Is what it's all about, and if it pushes people to do that to try and help their team, then I think it's absolutely been worthwhile, and I think you'll find that that's the general feedback you'll get. So we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah. One thing I should just say before anyone says anything about the scoring, it isn't based on the number of team total steps for your team. So you may have the most steps as a team, but it is about team points. So how many people hit the threshold that's over the limit, etc. So in that way around it, it's kind of more about everyone just getting a bit more active and doing more steps, not someone in your team doing astronomical amount of steps. So but there will be a goal obviously for the person who does the most. So there is an element to that, but But I will reveal the number of total steps a team has done anyway, just because I like the idea of that.
Just for the numbers.
Or total team steps submitted anyway.
What are you going to get? What are you going to do if you get like 5 or 6 teams who are all maxed out the thresholds? How's that going to work?
So if there's joint numbers of points, in terms of you've got 2 teams, you've got 5 people who've done over the 60k and that's the max, it will be on total steps because that's just the easiest way to differentiate the teams. So I believe that's fair. You can give me an idea whether that isn't fair, but I believe that is fair.
I guess it probably is.
Otherwise it could be average steps per person.
It's
the same deal really. Average steps,
it was the same thing. Average would be
or close enough. So I'll be freely admit on that one. That's not been particularly.
Well, it's too late now. The bombshell's been dropped late in the day, so no one's gonna know.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. You've all submitted by now. I'll think of whatever way to rig it. So,
who are you playing this week? Who have Yellow's got this week?
Whites.
Unlucky Whites. 3 goals to Yellow straight off the bat. Nice one. Josh, how many steps you done? I've done at least 140,000 steps this week.
You just have to trust me. Take me on my word.
We trust you, mate. We trust you. Great work, mate.
So anyway, that's that.
Good one.
One last thing then potentially before we go to
Sorry. Yeah, go on. I was going to say it will be a real interesting week because we've got this and we've also got first hat-trick week, so there might be a few hat-tricks kicking about, which will boost scores. And also, is there a chance of any LMS goals this week, or is that next week? It's week 4, isn't
it? I think it's going to be.
I think it's week 4 that.
Week 4 is LMS. So week
cool. So they won't be thrown in. No, cool. So it could be quite a high-scoring week for someone this week.
Yeah. I have to admit, I didn't think about it being on a hat-trick week. Because they're all going to be on potential hat-trick weeks.
They are,
3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9, and 12 weeks for the challenges. So, well, we'll see. We know they spread out a little bit as you go through the season. But first one in particular.
Love it, mate.
I reckon the scores this week. I reckon someone could win 25-24 this week or something like that coming. Imagine that.
You'd be pissed. That happened to me last season, I'm sure. 2 bloody milestones, we still flipping lost.
Yeah. Anyway,
but I'm not bitter. Go for it. Fantasy football.
Well, I was.
Come on.
The only last thing I was going to talk about fantasy football very briefly. As I've just noted that Man United have drawn against FC20.
Oh,
this is our best chance to win something.
And anyway, so wildcard week for me in fantasy football. I'm playing it. It doesn't mean you have to, but I personally am, because I don't have any Arsenal in my team and I desperately need Arsenal. As a resident Arsenal person in this pod, maybe that Jack can tell me whether he thinks David Raya is going to be fit.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay, you think he will be? Yeah.
For a 16-year-old.
Well, it's funny because one thing on my dark arts thing I was going to say to you is one thing I'm not a massive fan of is goalkeepers going down, because they know they can't be taken off the pitch.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of loophole, and David Raya does it more than anyone. I'm not saying he's like bad, but he does do it more than anyone.
Well,
I find it both funny and also a little bit,
The teenager, forget his names, Nathan Skelly, whatever his name is, got booked before even he got his first Premier League booking before even making his Premier League debut.
He did,
because he was shouting. Arteta told him to go and tell David Raya to go down. He fucking got caught doing it, and the ref saw it and booked him. So that's pretty impressive. I don't think many people will do that before do that again.
Well, good luck to him anyway. So fantasy wise, David Raya will definitely be in there if he's fit. He's going to be in my team. Arsenal defense is just incredible. It really is just that good. Gabriel will therefore be part of my back line. So
scoring defense
David Raya,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Gabriel's, they literally target him on every corner, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's just and he gets there all the time. Fabianski is a 4.0 or 4 million goalkeeper, so he's just a bench fodder. That's kind of where you save money. So backline will be Trent, if I can afford to keep him, I will. Gabriel's definitely in there. He's an absolute lock. I think I will have Pedro Porro in there because Spurs fixtures are going to be pretty decent. And then a rotation probably of either, funnily enough, Kirkes from Bournemouth, or Dunk from Brighton, or Collins from Brentford. One of those. Aina from Notts Forest, Mazraoui from Man United. Any of those. And then Greaves from Ipswich, probably because he's a 4 million defender. Nailed on. My midfield is probably going to be Rodgers still, because he's cheap, plays 90 minutes for Aston Villa. And Mbeumo, he has to be in. He's an absolute lock. He has to be in there, in my opinion. Their fixtures are incredible for the next 15 games or something. They don't play anyone inside the top 6 or something silly. Then they've got Saka. He's absolutely nailed. I think he's one of the only players who's yet to blank all season.
Mm-hmm.
Then Luis Diaz for Liverpool. Now, he's one I may or may not have, but I kind of want to cover Liverpool a bit.
Yeah.
Seeing him in the flesh at the weekend, he was unreal as well.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And then one of McNeil from Everton, or like Semenyo from Bournemouth, someone like that. Might be a bit of a homer and pick Semenyo and Kirkes just for that one.
Bit of taste of Bournemouth.
Someone
Playing
like
Saints,
that. Garnacho maybe.
High pressing teams score goals galore against Saints.
Yeah, but when you do wildcard, it's more about fixtures ahead of time. So having Southampton is brilliant, but it's more about, if you're thinking miles ahead, really, or trying to think ahead at least. So I'm just gonna check Bournemouth's fixtures, but they've got Southampton, Leicester, which is great.
I was thinking it as a free hit instead of a wild card. Sorry, I see what you mean now. Okay.
Yeah, so I've got Southampton. They got Southampton, Leicester, but then they've got Arsenal, Villa, City. And then they have Brentford, Brighton, Wolves. So it could be, if you can bench them, it's worth getting a Bournemouth player and then just benching him for the 3 weeks you don't want, etc.
Yeah.
Then my forward line, Haaland. I mean, there's no way he's leaving the team. Calvert-Lewin probably for Everton. Again, they've got some very good fixtures. They've got Palace, Newcastle, Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton, West Ham, Brentford in a row. And they are scoring goals despite the fact they let them in on last minute. And then probably Solanke, as I was saying. So they've got quite good fixtures, and now he's fit, he will be nailed. So Man United, Brighton, West Ham, Palace, Villa, Ipswich. It's not too bad. It's not brilliant, but not too bad.
No.
So that's my thing, my wild card potentially.
Fair, mate.
Obviously, I say that now. and by the time we get to the deadline, it'll change. But I'm
Very
definitely on a wild card because I've activated it already. So that's got no choice now. So yeah, I just need Arsenal players, man. I just need Arsenal players in the team. I have 0 at the moment. I need 3.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know how you've managed that. You're doing well though, mate. To get to be where you are in the league without having Arsenal players, you've obviously made some good picks.
Yeah.
Well, I would have been ahead of you if I hadn't had taken Saka out for Salah and bloody Isak out for João Pedro in that.
Well, fine lines, mate. Fine lines.
I remember you saying about Saka out for Salah, and yeah, the more criticism Saka gets, the better he seems to get. If that makes sense, I think that was
he's brilliant. He's brilliant, and I really want him all the time.
Yeah, he's.
It's just it was the only way for me to get Salah versus, like, did they play Southampton? Was it, or Bournemouth at home? And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna have to because, and then he blanks anyway. So
yeah,
I laugh.
Arsenal's fixtures are pretty favourable now for a couple of weeks as well. We've got Leicester, Saints, and then somebody a Bournemouth, Leicester, Saints, Bournemouth.
Yeah. If you have to have Arsenal players for that run, in my opinion, which is why I'm wildcarding, because I need them in.
Yeah, okay. I
can almost guarantee 6 to 9 points from Gabriel, 6 to 9 points from Raya, both of them in the next 3 games. You can almost guarantee it. And so it's just like, I need them. I don't have them. So wildcard it was for me. Yeah.
There we go.
Anyway, that's my fantasy football wildcard.
Happy days, mate. I'm only 16 points in front of you, mate. So
that can change pretty quick.
Yeah, really quick. Really quick.
The other thing I was going to say as well, Semenyo's a sneaky one because he's a midfielder, but he's the biggest threat for Bournemouth at the moment. Even Ilson seemed miles off it. Unai seemed better when he came on than even Ilson at the weekend. But Semenyo was, even the Liverpool fans were clapping Semenyo as he walked off round in front of us. They appreciated the performance he had just put in, and he's looking an absolute player. So, fair play.
He's definitely someone I'm considering, because in theory I could play him Southampton and Leicester, and then sub him, then transfer him. For someone else. I don't like booking in transfers just after a wild card, especially as now you can have like up to 5 roll transfers. But it's an option. Definitely.
Yeah.
Same with like Kirkes or someone like that.
Yeah, and another player that had a brilliant game at the weekend as well. I thought he was outstanding against Salah.
Oh, if he's nailed, he's an attacking left back. It's brilliant.
The only thing is he's yellow card heavy. He's always diving in, and I think he's especially against Saints, where the atmosphere will be up under the lights. I'm sure he'll get a card against them if it's a tight game. I'm certain of it, but we shall see. Exciting times. I'm definitely getting back into it. I just made the cardinal sin, and obviously this is the first time speaking to you guys since it's really properly kicked off. I made the cardinal sin of thinking Haaland wasn't going to do fuck all again, and I just can't get him in my team now. So I'm like the play. I'm like playing for the second. I'm playing in that league that doesn't have Haaland, and I'm doing quite well in that.
The non-Haaland league. Yeah, fair play.
Anyway, that's it, then, lads. This week.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Great to be back, chaps. Thank you.
Yes,
good to have you, mate.
It's really good to have you back, Jack. Thank you for being so honest with us on how you've been, mate. And we're thrilled. And obviously, like everyone's thrilled to have you back, but everyone's also here to help you and here to support you and get us all where we want to go ultimately.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Groovy.
Right. We'll have a cracker week.
Boys on Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Today.
Hopefully the rain has stopped by then.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, lads.
Sorry about that.
Have a good week.
Challenge on that one.
Yeah, good one.
Good
Have a good one.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, take care, lads. Bye bye.